Coming up, what an excellent day for the face of the enemy.
Because we can't call it sucking cocks in hell right on the feed,
No.
I suppose. What an excellent day for sucking cocks in hell. That's not going to look right on...
We were waiting this whole time, and we finally get to it, and we're like, we can't use that.
Yeah. An RSS feed with that in it will get us canceled.
Yeah. We're a family show. And that's when I make the argument. It's like, well, it is your mother sucking cocks. Well, howdy, folks, and welcome to Minute 107 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Kynan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Karis saying, "In the face of the enemy."
And it ends with Captain Howdy screaming and writhing on the bed as the priest continue to pray over Reagan.
And folks, just a heads up at the top here, this part of the book, this final battle, is the reason I wanted to do this show. I have been trying to figure out how to fit our Book of Bloody readings in with the minutes of the film, but the pacing and the order of events are too different, and I feel like it would lessen the impact of both of them if I tried to do it that way. Both of these are songs, and I don't want to interrupt them with a different song. So I am going to try to find a future episode that has a lull in the action where we can go back and read from the book. I'm workshopping this as I go. The readings might also be in several parts. I want the climaxes to be in the same episode. We'll see if I can manage that. Wish me luck, folks.
Yeah, I am having somewhat of a similar problem, Lester, as I'm watching to review. I just keep, I try to watch 1 minute and then I just keep going, like the inertia of the movie, right? It's making it hard for me to go, okay, that's 1 minute. I just keep watching. Right. Oh wait, I've been watching this for 10 minutes now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I had a similar thing with the book too, where I read the last 50 pages of the book like in one sitting and just couldn't put it down.
Yeah, this is the part that sweeps you up and doesn't stop, folks. So it's a little weird doing it minute by minute, and we're just like cutting lines off and stopping in the middle of like a prayer or a curse from Howdy or something like that. So, but yeah, so we're going to do our best examining it minute by minute, and I will try to fit those book bits in a little bit later when there's like an organic place for it. But yeah, let's get back to the top of this minute. Let's look at this symphony that is playing out before us. Folks, this has one of my favorite moments in the whole film. I think it's an unsung moment. I don't even know if it was intentional, but I love it and I'm excited to get to it. But right now, let's take a look at Dimmy. And I'm not talking about sucking cocks in hell. That's
my favorite part.
Just in case anybody out there was wondering, it's like, oh, this is the sucking cocks in hell. Right? Yeah. No, it's not that.
I'm sure there are some of our listeners who know, even without it being in the title, that this is the Sucking Cocks
this is
minute. They have it tattooed on their wrist, minute 106 of The Exorcist, and they just show it to their friends in arguments.
They started, a year back, and they were like, all right, we're on minute 5 now. Let me just see. All right, minute 107. I will get back to them. Oh, a strike. Oh, they're never going to get to it now. Yeah. Okay, but right now, let's take a look at Dimmy, back where we left him kneeling at the foot of the bed. Remember, folks, the last line of the previous minute was by Marin. He had said, "Be unto her, O Lord, a fortified tower." And now we get to hear Damien's response. He says, "In the face of the enemy." And Dimmy's voice is strong and clear. He is in this now. Remember, folks, I was so happy in the last minute to see Dimmy starting to step into his role as a priest. I know he is a priest. He's been a priest, but you read the book, you watch the movie, and every time he's doing priest things, it's just a little off. Maybe something in the eyes or how he says the words. He's distracted. He's turned inward. He's turned off. We know that he's a good person, faith or no faith, and because of that, we cheer for him here as he really and truly begins becoming a priest, becoming an exorcist in the face of the enemy.
Yeah, well, we cast a young priest, which is the point, right? So,
Hmm.
but he does feel more at home with himself than Dyer does, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like there's something. So part of it's the casting of Jason Miller, who looks like an athlete. This is again called out in the book that he looks. He does. You don't look at him and go, "Oh, this is a gentle, wise,
Right.
caring counselor person," the way that you might with Dyer, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then yeah, he just sort of wears it like he's uncomfortable. Like I love performances where people are uncomfortable in their skin.
Mm.
I'm thinking of like Timmy Chalamet and Call Me by Your Name.
Hmm. Hmm.
Have you seen that actually?
I have not. I have not.
It's just a really physical performance, and it just like he's what 17 or whatever, and it just feels
Hmm.
like when you're a kid and you're growing up, and you're like all of a sudden my shoulders don't work the same way they did when I was a foot
Mm.
shorter, and I'm just sort of like lanky and walking around. I just don't feel comfortable. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, he's got the idea that he's falling in love with this guy when perhaps he doesn't
Mm.
even think that he would like guys before. It's all it's discomfort, and I think Jason Miller has that, right? He like
Hmm. Hmm.
I guess the only time we see him comfortable in a priest costume is when he's just laughing at Burke Dennings at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, like every other time, it's just like, oh god, I got to be a priest. I got to
Hmm.
go out
Hmm.
there and I got to go out there, and people are looking at me, and
Hmm.
they have these expectations. So yeah, that's the only time I can think of, right? When he's like
Yeah.
watching somebody else, he's with the crowd, and he doesn't think anyone's looking at him, and he's just like, yeah, I could be
And he's able
myself.
to just be himself. It
Yeah,
it it feels like he's living a lie.
yep,
And he's got that imposter syndrome, and he's just like the weight of it is weighing him down. Um,
yeah,
I can recall one other time. I actually like got some screenshots of it.
hmm
Back when him and Kinderman are talking. Remember when he's like, they're kind of like one of them's in the foreground, one of them is in the background, so
hmm
they don't see each other, but they're both like kind of like fencing. They're talking about like it's like, oh well, it's like I could always say it's a matter of confession, da da da,
yeah,
and and Karras has this smile on his face that is, again, it's just like it's so genuine. It's like sun poking out of the clouds. And
hmm
Kinderman also like they make each other smile. It's like this beautiful like moment in the film that
yeah.
like if you see it by itself, I'll upload the screenshots on the listener
Mhm.
page. If you've never seen The Exorcist, you'd see it's like, oh, these are just two buddies like having a chat, right?
They're having so we
Mm.
think that's part of like our thesis or my working thesis that like the
Mm.
movie's about performance in some ways, and with Kinderman, Dimmy doesn't have to pretend to be a priest, and
Mm.
with Dimmy, Kinderman doesn't have to pretend to be this like idiot Columbo type, right? He can
Right.
admit that he's being smart and that he's that both of them are working each other.
Yeah, they can kind of let their guard down a little bit, even
Hmm
though they are fencing. It's like fencing on a different level, so they can
Right.
stop the like the facade that they have for everybody else.
Like they were fencing before, but had to pretend that they weren't fencing. Right, that's how they
Right.
normally are doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're dressed as clowns, and it's just pretend fence, but we really know this is for real. I'll fucking kill you,
Yeah.
and you know that I would fucking kill you, and I know I would fucking kill you. So great,
Yeah.
finally, we've met someone who understands this.
Right. It's like I want to kill you. You want to kill me. Oh, what a breath of fresh air.
Right, and the kids are like clowns. Hey, the clowns are so funny, mommy. Look at the
Yeah.
clowns.
It's like I've never met my match before. It's like I've just one thing to say to you. Do you like movies, Father?
Wonka, Wonka.
Yeah. Exactly. Hmm. But yeah, but no, and like so that and the little laugh at the beginning with Burke's line
hmm
and this right here. I know he's not smiling and laughing here, but he is being real right
Yeah.
now. Like
hmm
he is turned on. He is like all the dials are set to 10, and he is comfortably in his skin, right? To
hmm
go back to what you were saying, like he's finally coming into his own, and this is like, oh, it feels so good to see him do that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he's serving realness, as the kids might say.
Oh, serving realness. I like that.
Executive realness, yes.
Mm. He's giving. I don't know. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't finish that. Sometimes they just say it's giving.
It's giving, and then they all go,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they snap their fingers a little bit,
right.
right?
Which for folks
Yes.
not in the know, it's like it's giving such and such vibes. Right.
Yeah, if you don't have any young people in your life who are willing to be themselves in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? We'll let you know what they say. They say it's giving.
Yeah. And then one of them will say based.
Which is sometimes good and sometimes bad, if I understand
Yes.
it correctly.
I think it's like I don't know the difference between facts and
Mhm.
based yet.
Oh yeah, write us in.
Yeah.
They're like, write to you at a Gmail. I don't
Oh
think
God.
so.
3 stars. This whole show is a mood. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Is that good? Is that bad?
If you have to ask, it's not good.
But yeah, so like as our generation would say, he is being real right now in the face of the enemy, right?
Right.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of which, speaking of faces of enemies, we get a hard cut here, and Howdy rears up again like a snake from the bed and screams at Marin. Reagan's face is contorted in this snarl. She's got teeth bared. Her pupils are tiny little pinpricks of blackness as Howdy fixes his gaze on his chosen enemy. But Marin continues to pray. He says, let the enemy have no power over her.
I don't know if we've given enough credit to just how incredibly scary Captain Howdy looks
Yeah.
and is at these like I don't want to take that for granted as we're talking about this movie, but like yeah, this makeup I think
Mm-hmm.
as you pointed out, right, like the pupils is a big part of it, right? So these
Mm-hmm.
contact lenses that are giving Linda Blair, right, that is giving
It's giving. Mm-hmm.
it's giving green pupils, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so like the contact lenses are there to give these green pupils to make it look like, okay, she's not in control. This is somebody else from the
Right.
inside. But yeah, the fact that I imagine that these contact lenses have these pupils drawn on them that's to stay dilated the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Um,
You mean contracted?
Oh, I always get that wrong. I
No.
always have that backwards. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're contracted. They're tiny little pinpricks, right?
Right,
And so
right.
that is just terrifying to be looked at with those
Mm-hmm.
eyes. I don't know how else to say it. It's inhuman.
Yeah.
It looks animalistic, and
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I guess also in the darkness, her eyes should be what's the word I said before? Contracted, dilated.
Yes, they should be
They
dilated in
should be
the. Oh my
dilated.
God, you
Sorry.
made me second guess
Sorry,
myself.
sorry. Yeah, in the
I
darkness.
knew this before.
Yeah, you corrected me.
Now I'm going on a crisis of faith about the difference between contracted and dilated.
Between base and based.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so in the darkness, it naturally her eyes should be open wide, right? To
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
try to
mm-hmm.
let in as much light as possible. But then this makeup is making it the opposite. Like,
Right.
geez, what is she? She's not responding to the same stimulus in the room that we are.
That's scary. The fact
Scary.
that physics and nature aren't working on her body.
Right.
Yeah, and I talk a little bit about this a little bit further down the page. We're talking about like it almost like Howdy is looking out of a mask,
Yeah.
right? And we have a primal response to masks because they shield like the most telling parts of a person's face. Like if you can't see their eyes clearly, right? I mean, it's like, back in the, back way back in the primal days, right? When we're trying to like, discern a friend or a foe and you can't read someone or something's eyes, it biologically disturbs us.
Right. Our faces evolved, not just ours, but I guess our simian ancestors as well, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
faces evolved in order to betray our feelings,
Mm.
right? Those are the animals who would betray their feelings and be readable to the other people in their society would get better benefits, and so we evolved into having faces that would, betray our inner thoughts, right?
Yes.
As opposed to ones who seem aloof or cold or what have you.
Mm.
So yeah, so to have be completely blocked from being able to see this person and what they're thinking and not seeing like their cheeks revealing that they're scared or their or their eyes revealing that they're thinking, right? It's just really, really disconcerting.
Right. Not even the same voice. It's not even words. It's just like that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So we got nothing. We have no way to read Howdy. But luckily, Marin's not concerned with reading him. He's reading that book and
reading Howdy for filth.
Yeah. What?
This is drag queen lingo that the kids
Oh,
say
okay.
now.
I agreed to it before I even knew.
You're like, yeah, what? But all this serving and giving and reading, it's all drag queen lingo from the 80s.
So
It's now what the young kids all say.
So is every verb wrong now? So I'm just gonna pick a verb and I'm gonna be like, well, that probably doesn't mean what it meant when I was growing up.
Yeah, they're all different now.
Jesus.
Well, that's right, Lester. They don't think it be like it is, but it do. You don't know that one?
I teach English literature
Mm-hmm.
and English grammar.
The classics.
Yeah. From the late 1900s.
Right. So
Yeah.
the kids can have it.
Sure. But yeah, all right. Speaking of literature, but yeah, so Marin's not even paying attention to like all of Howdy's tricks. He is reading that book, and he says, "Let the enemy have no power over her." Now we cut back to Dimmy as he gives the response. He says, "And the son of iniquity be powerless to harm her." And as he says this, he looks up. I like this touch. He has been looking back up from the words. He knows he also has to be present in that way as well. It also means he's prepared. He knows when the next response is going to be and when it's safe to look up. And now I hear in his voice a little bit of emotion. The words are having an effect both on Howdy and on Dimmy. He is hearing himself ask God that this evil spirit be powerless to harm this little girl. And he means it. He is talking to God right now, whether he knows it or not. And look at this, folks. Only now does Howdy acknowledge him. This whole time, Howdy has been looking at Marin, but maybe now he can sense Karis waking up from his own hell, and Howdy can't have that. He jumps on that and he attacks him with, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell, Karis, you faithless slime." That's the rest of that line.
Yeah, when we
And
quote it, we don't need the rest of that line, I
yeah,
suppose, right?
right? Yeah.
Well, can we stop there? Like, why do you think that that line works so well and is a catchphrase? I mean, it is so vulgar, but I guess also just so specific. Like, when you say your mother sucks cocks in hell, you know it's the Exorcist, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to like your mother sucks cocks or your mother's in hell. Like, what is it about
Right.
that like makes that a cultural touchstone?
I think firstly it's the trifecta of like you say your mother and everyone's like, and it's like sucks cocks and you're like, no. And then you say in hell and it's like, no, that's the worst place to suck cocks. In Catholic 1970s America.
Of all the places you can tell me that my mother sucks cocks.
Because it's like maybe at the last you're kind of like holding out that, he'll say, your mother sucks cocks in Helltown, Ohio.
Is that a real
Which
place?
is a place. Oh, yeah, that's a real place.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah. Go on a little vacation.
Yeah, right? Suck a little cock,
Yeah, I wonder what the big attractions are in Helltown, Ohio. Let me.
I mean, I think we just mentioned them. I think. No. I'm sure it's a lovely place.
I'm sure it's a lovely place.
Any listeners over there, we love you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Which is sucking cocks.
Yeah, where is it?
It's in Ohio.
I'm looking. It's really in the middle. There's a lot of hotels around. They got a Costco. Now let me see like what the touristy things to do in Helltown, Ohio are. Let's see here.
Okay.
Helltown is purportedly teeming with crybaby bridges, spooked school buses, mass human sacrifice scenes, and a mutant python for good measure.
A mutant python?
Yeah. Oh my God. Maybe this is a worse place to suck cocks than in the actual hell. Rangers who visited the site became ill and covered in rashes because of the toxic chemicals improperly disposed of.
Jesus.
Oh
no, wait. Okay, Kynan. No. Okay, I found it now. I was thinking of something else. I think they named it Helltown because it's such a horrible place.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But there is a place called Hell, just Hell, in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
It's Hell, Michigan.
Michigan.
It's an unincorporated community in Livingston County, located in the southeastern part of the state. It's known for its unique name and has become a tourist attraction because of the name. People often visit for the novelty of sucking cocks there. No, of sending postcards from hell.
Oh, I see.
Buying souvenirs and saying they've been to hell and back. Ha ha. Hell is capitalized Hell has capitalized on its name with businesses and events themed around it, making it a humorous destination.
Oh yeah, I see they have the Hell Saloon and Go to Hell
Mm.
Ice Cream Parlor. All right, this sounds
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, and then it's right up the up the road from Beaver Lake. So I guess your mother sucks cock in Beaver Lake just doesn't have the same kind of a ring to it.
See, folks, were you worried that once it got too serious, we were gonna?
But all right, I have not been to that part of Michigan, so
Yeah.
it's between Lansing and Ann Arbor. It looks like, so we should take a trip there someday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take a field trip to hell.
suck some cocks, whatever you
Yeah,
want
you
to
know,
do, Lester, whatever you want.
get some extra long Twizzlers.
All right, well,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. I have read that when Linda Blair was doing rehearsals for this scene with Max von Sydow, like the very first time, it bothered him
Right.
so much that he had trouble. Right, he was just maybe not bothered, maybe not like disturbed, but like enough where he had trouble in the initial run of it, like going on with the scene, because he was just like, "Oh, what a thing to
Right.
say, little girl."
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, your mother sucking cocks in hell.
Mm.
Ugh.
So this is, like, even though, we are hearing Mercedes McCambridge's voice, like,
Right.
Linda Blair had to say all of these lines.
She got to say them.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
say. I mean,
You're
if
right.
I'm a
Right.
12-year-old girl, they're gonna pay me money
Uh-huh.
to look at grown men in the eye and say this terrible stuff. Yeah, I think there's a little bit too much like oh, poor Linda Blair. Like, no,
Oh,
she got to do it.
yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Like the equivalent of you dressing up in a devil costume.
Yeah. They're making me dress up as a sexy devil and having this wild orgy in this scene.
Exactly.
I asked them if they could hire a stunt person, but they said, Lester, there's nobody sexy enough who will fit the devil costume. Yeah.
Yes, we looked high and low for
Mhm.
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, it's the shockingness of it.
Mhm.
It's weird how specific the insult is here,
Mhm.
even though, all those individual parts of it, right,
Right.
are not particularly unique to schoolyard chants, right? Like,
Right.
but yeah, that's a good point.
Mm.
I think it also has this like this rhythm, this iambic rhythm to it, like
Right.
your mother sucks cocks in hell. Like it just
Yeah.
has this sort of flow to it.
It's one of those things like, it's like in high school theater, right before you go on stage, you gather all the student actors and they get in a circle and
Right.
they do like, like red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow, your mother sucks cocks in hell. Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Right? They get a little clapping game. It's like, who sucks cocks in hell? Your mother sucks cocks in hell. What does she do in hell? Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Where does she suck cocks? Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Yeah, it's such a great line. Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyways, thanks for taking that detour with me, because no, really, it's one of the most famous things, right? And,
Yeah, no.
like, why is it famous?
Yeah. To hell, Michigan, we took that detour. But no, I think, and what I like about it is everything. No, no, what I like about it is that outside of the movie or the book, it's like still, it stands up on its own. No. Outside of the movie, it still has this shock value. Like just
Right.
by itself, it makes you go, right? But we know for Karis, it has like is it still right if I say diegetic purpose?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's cutting him very, very deeply, right?
Specific, right.
Because Howdy knows about his mother, Howdy knows about his fears about his mother, and this is a jab that is personal to Karis, right?
Right. Because I do think, again, we were discussing this earlier in Karis's dream sequence. Like, does he think his mother is in hell? I think he
Right.
does. I mean, or at least is vulnerable to that attack. Right, even though like she seemed to be a faithful woman and a nice woman and all of that, right? Like,
right.
Like he is at least bothered by it enough that this schoolyard taunt actually, matters to him, as opposed to like, your mother's bad at cooking, and he's like, I know my mother's not bad at cooking, right? My mother's a bomb ass cook.
Yeah,
she made me 3 types of cheese the other day when I was there.
Howdy's like, oh really? Like 3 types?
Right.
When are you guys having another like little get together? Like, Yeah, I can bring some wine. I
I
can,
can't. She's in hell. She's in hell.
Oh, oh,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
right, yeah,
I didn't know. I had no idea.
yeah. It's terrible, terrible. But no, so like the whole purpose of this taunt
Hmm.
is to get to Karis. Like he knows that that will hurt and distract him, but
Hmm.
he is not just Karis anymore. That's what he says. So it's like your mother sucks cocks in hell, Karis, you faithless slime,
Right.
right? But he is not only Karis anymore. He is becoming Father Damien Karis, even
Mm.
though we don't see his face in the shot and cannot see how he reacts to this attack.
Hmm.
Actually, I want to talk about not seeing his face here. It's more than just an over the shoulder shot. Friedkin is doing this thing again where he is using the body of a character to obscure our view. Damien's head and shoulder plunge nearly half the screen into darkness, forcing
Hmm.
us to focus on the angry, spitting face of Captain Howdy. In this shot, Dimmy really has become a lonely black cloud, as Blatty puts it so early in our story. Before we even know his name, that's how Blatty refers to him, a lonely black cloud. But the difference here is that on the other side of that cloud in this shot, the side that we don't see, but the side that Howdy is screaming at, it's bathed in light. And I know it's the light from the room,
Hmm.
but in this shot where Dimmy is a cloud, you can see light poking out the edges of the blackness. You can see it shining on the edge of his face and the edge of his coat, and his breath is coming out in these white clouds, which are made even more visible by this light.
Hmm.
I also like that we don't even give Howdy time to finish before we have cut again. It's another over the shoulder of Karis, but now Dimmy's black cloud is smaller and we can see Marin in profile beyond him. And even though this is a different angle, I think Damien is still looking at Reagan. And I like that juxtaposition because it looks like Marin is either looking down at the book or he's got his head bowed in prayer. And this shot gives me the impression that they are switching off. Like one of them focuses on the ritual and one of them is there with Reagan, which implies that Karis is now able to handle that by himself. He's no longer the assistant to the doctor, he's the other doctor.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I know for sure that's what's going on in the scene, but the way this shot is laid out, it gives me that feeling. And before doing the show with you, Kynan, I never really appreciated a director and a cinematographer's ability to make, I think you said like 2D pictures out of 3D images.
Hmm.
Like having someone farther away gives us the feeling that they are smaller, or the direction they're looking might imply opposition or agreement, right? I'm searching for those moments now as we look at these shots.
Yeah, that's a lot of what film theory is, what a lot of what filmmaking practice is about.
Mm.
I think the best distillation of how all that works is in this book by Bruce Block. I've talked about a little bit called The Visual Story.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
textbook, but it's a pretty cheap. It's like $30, $40 depending.
Oh, okay.
So we should probably put that in like our show notes and send that
Oh,
to
yeah,
people
yeah.
because yeah, like the thing that that filmmakers are doing is they're taking a three-dimensional space, right, the movie set, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're converting it into a two-dimensional image, and those by its very nature are not as easy as it might sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your camera tends to make certain things bigger as they come closer to the screen when you don't
Right.
want them to, etc. Which you can see like when you try to take a selfie with yourself and your wide lens on your camera is too close to you, and you all of a
Right.
sudden look stretchy or fat or older, or all these effects that
Mm.
we have, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're taking a three-dimensional space on set, turning it into a two-dimensional space for the audience to receive, and then
Mm.
to create the illusion of three dimensions in the audience's mind. Right.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
all of those things put together. So in order to make Damien feel like he's right up against the camera, we might have him like 20 feet away from the camera. All sorts of
Right. Yeah.
really weird, tricky things like that. So yeah, we should link to that. Bruce Block's The Visual Story.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll put a link to that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. All right. Thank you, Kynan. But yeah, like I said, Howdy is still saying, his famous line about Karis's mother sucking cocks in hell. And I love that nobody is listening.
Hmm.
Even the camera has cut away from him to this new shot. We're with the priests now, and we're not listening to this jerk anymore. And that simple act of having the camera cut away from him, combined with Marin and Karis talking quietly over him, makes his words small and pathetic, even though he's like physically louder than them.
Hmm.
And I keep saying he. I know it's Mercedes McCambridge. I know it's it's Reagan, but like it's Howdy, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, like it makes his voice just small and pathetic and desperate, completely different from how we remember that famous line. We think it has this impact, right? Like it's a mic drop, right? But no, it's just more noise from Howdy, more buzzing of these angry wasps,
Yeah,
right?
because that would destroy me no matter where I was. So I just
Mm-hmm.
assumed, thinking back at the movie, that's what happened with Karras. And I also
Right.
think, as a less confident director than Friedkin, I would want every single one of those things to land and to cut back to Karras and see him responding or not responding to those things. But the best way to not show him not responding, I guess, is exactly what you're saying. It's just like, well, let's move on. We're busy.
Right.
We got work to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where again, I think you're right. I think that, like, an earlier Karras, like the day before, would have
Right.
responded to that and would
Yeah.
have had a close up of him going, no.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Of
Literally.
Luke Skywalker's face, right? Of,
Right.
"Ah!"
No. Wait. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your mother. He told me enough. He told me she went to Hell, Michigan, and had a really good time.
No, she went to Helltown, Ohio.
No, that's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, do you think they'll cast us in Star Wars Episode 5 someday?
When we get the remake of Empire, yeah, sure.
Yeah, or when there's like, community theater production of The Empire Strikes Back, and we could audition for that. I'll audition if you audition.
Oh, I'd say, you don't gonna ask me twice. Huh. Yeah. But no, Kynan, you're absolutely right. Like, one day earlier, this would have messed with Dimmy, I think.
Destroyed him, probably.
Yeah. And like, this is, something has happened, right? He has met Merrin, and like a little bit of Merrin's will has kind of like infused within him, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And also I think he's grown, right? Like Dimmy's grown up quite a bit in this film. But yeah, so we're back with these priests, right? Howdy's just, screaming away. Nobody's paying any attention. And Merrin says, "Lord, hear my prayer." And Damien responds. He says, "And let my cry come unto thee." Which in a kind of meta way is hard for us to hear. We hear Howdy more clearly. But that's because we're not these priests. We're scared shitless because we're watching The Exorcist.
Right. Also, in the book, right, that's that you have to read it. You can't get Howdy screams screaming over you in the book, right? And it's also, again, the title of the last section, so you're like, he said the thing, he said the thing,
he did it, right? So, Book 1, the beginning. Book 2, the edge. Book 3, the abyss. Book 4, your mother sucks cocks in hell. But yeah, no. I like the fact that Howdy is louder and more bombastic and more frightening for us, but not for these priests. They're ignoring him, and I also like that they're talking over him, but they're not like raising their voices. You know what I mean? Like they're like, and let my cry come unto. They're not doing that, right?
Right.
They don't even need to. They don't even feel the need to match Howdy's energy. And also in that line, "Let my cry come unto thee," we hear a little bit more of the emotion in Dimmy's voice. And to me, it sounds like Howdy's words did have an effect, but he is still hanging on. He's still praying. He's still in this. I don't know if the beginning of the movie Dimmy would have been able to do that, like we were just saying, right? But once again, Merrin looks up from the book, not to Reagan, but to Dimmy this time, and he says, "The Lord be with you." And it could be that he looked up to say that very thing to him as part of the ritual, but I also like to think that he heard the change in Dimmy's voice, and he's looking up, partly maybe like signaling for him not to stop, to hang in there, but also partly to comfort him.
Mm.
And so Marin is not only tending to Reagan and ministering to Reagan, he is also tending to Damien. What do you think, Kynan?
Well, they've only had a few interactions, but so far the two interactions have shown Marin that Damien is lacking in faith, I would say, right? Right,
Yeah.
because of these questions or these points of view that he's betraying, right, by saying
Right.
like I need to tell you about this case, I need to tell you about these different personalities, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that he probably does understand that he needs to keep Karis faithful,
Mm,
alert, alive,
mm,
keep him not seduced or distracted by the devil, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because Marin has seen this before, but he knows that Karis is his first rodeo, as it were.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that idea that you think that he's even sensing in the conviction that Karis is putting out in these lines, like he's sensing a change in Karis.
Oh, like a good change, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even think of that,
Like
but
we've
it
had
could.
3 conversations, but
Mhm.
this sounds different than the guy that I met in the doorstep, right? And it's like,
Oh,
yeah.
I would like that. That would be great. Yeah, I'll take that.
All right.
Yeah, it could be any one of those folks. It could be that he's sensing that Karis is flagging. He's sensing that Karis is rallying.
Mhm.
Or it could just be like part of the ritual, and he's like, and the Lord be with you, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And we get Damien's response here. He says, "And also with you."
Mhm.
And Marin turns back, saying, "Let us pray." Now, just a little bit about this line here, Kynan. I think you may have alluded to this, and I think John Mulaney also has a joke about this.
Mhm.
But for you and I, Kynan, growing up, it was always "and also with you," correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then at some point, somehow,
Someone did this to us.
yeah, and everybody just knew. Next time we went to church, everybody but us,
Right.
that it had changed to "and with your spirit." So yeah, like I can't remember how many. And you know what, folks, I never learned my lesson because every time I go back to church, I
Mhm.
was like, everyone's like, "The Lord be with you." I was like, "And also with you, with your spirit." Like I have to catch myself every single time.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to. Yeah, it's just so ingrained in you. I don't know how you make those sort of changes. Yeah, but
It'd
so
be like if somebody like made a change to the Hail Mary or something, you know,
the national anthem.
or yeah. Hmm.
Right, it's and the land of the free and the home of my friends. And
Yeah.
we go, the
What?
brave,
What?
my friends.
Yeah. But yeah. So
Or
so
the
okay.
Pledge of
Mm.
Allegiance or something.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of Hell, Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know how you would change that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
they send out an email to all the Catholics or
This was
something?
this was before email. I think they sent out
Was
a dove.
an archangel came down and said unto thee, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael came down and appeared in all of the Catholic streams, and
Mm-hmm,
if
mm-hmm.
you weren't worthy enough, you didn't hear it.
Yeah. It was, "Be not afraid." Really, seriously, this is not something to be afraid about. Just.
Just wanted to update y'all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I wouldn't. They wouldn't send Michael for that. They would send some lower ranked angel. It'd be like Zemiel or something like that. I don't even know if that's a real. I just made that one up.
But then, yeah, people would be like, I need to see some ID.
Yeah.
Zemiel, the angel.
So you say you work under Michael? It's like, how can we? So you're saying that they've changed "also with you" to also to "with your spirit." And who are you again? And he's just like, I told Gabriel this would happen.
Yeah, so do we know why they changed that or anything? Or
Yeah, so I looked it up. So apparently this was one of a bunch of changes the church made in the early 2000s specifically. This one was to be more accurate
Mhm.
to the original Latin, right?
Oh, okay.
Which is "et cum spiritu tuo," which literally means "and with your spirit."
Okay.
So actually, it's closer to the original. Like this is so it's always been "and with your spirit." We've just been saying it wrong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And but again, even though this was over a decade ago, I It still gets me. Because like as a kid, you have this like Pavlovian response to that phrase because like it's near the end of the mass, so it means that Burger King is imminent. Because that's what they would do. They would bribe us
Right.
with Burger King or Pizza Hut or, some other thing. And whenever you hear, peace be with you, right? Or the Lord be with you, you're like, you're like, and also with you.
Right.
Yeah.
We're coming, Burger King.
Mm-hmm. But if you get it wrong, they start the whole mass over.
And they call Burger King ahead. Let's say the Clark family gets no Burger King today.
Mm-hmm.
This for I am the Lord.
They can have a blasphemy meal, but that's it. No toy.
Right.
But yeah, so actually, okay, interestingly, Kynan, in the 40th anniversary edition of the book,
Mm-hmm.
Dimmy says, "and with your spirit."
Oh, okay. So they updated it.
Well, so I read this and I was like, come on, Blatty. Like, you didn't need to change that. Keep it accurate to the times. Like, it was still set in, the 1970s. But
Right.
Kynan, I went and I looked at my first edition copy, and it also says, "and with your spirit." And that was in 1971.
No.
Yes. Yes.
I'm trying to find my copy. No, that's insane. So what how do we explain that? He's a time traveler? That's where my mind goes.
He just Dimmy was right in that scene. He's like getting a time machine and hop back. No. So I did some research, and apparently, even though it wasn't official until like 2011, clergy and scholars and other folks with like a deep connection to the ritual were saying, "and with your spirit" in English before it was cool, because it was more accurate.
So in the film they change it to the less accurate, but
Right.
more common use of it, and also with you.
So I'm wondering. So like, I can see Blatty putting it in there, and it kind of like causing a little stir, and they're like, "Oh, that's not right." But like him having like some. This is him like having a little bit of like deep knowledge, and like they'd be impressed by that. It's like, oh yeah, interesting.
But the movie, so he's writing that on his own, and in the movie
Yes.
we have 3 at least technical advisors, right? We have Tom Birmingham,
Yes.
William O'Malley, who plays
Right.
Father Dyer, and then John Nicola, right? Reverend
Exactly.
John Nicola.
Yeah.
So they were standing in. So I don't know who's responsible for the change, but maybe it's like they're like, yeah, that is more correct, but that's not what the priest would say here.
It's like that's such a deep cut that they're not even going to notice it. So take it out.
Yeah, that's giving deep cut.
Yeah. It's giving.
Okay, I got you.
Oh, did you hear? We made some more changes to mass. We now, instead of chanting, we just say it's giving. Lord, you're giving.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, right?
Yeah. Right.
We have all those advisors there.
Yeah. So it had to be a conscious decision to change it from "with your spirit" to "also with you."
Yeah.
I bet like what does it say in the screenplay? Because that's Blatty too.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's here. So actually, in I don't see it in here, but in this section, we have a lot going on. So there's a lot of prayer and then a lot of description in the screenplay of what's going on. But at one point, we have Marin. "I adjure you, ancient serpent, by the judge of the living and the dead, by your ... As Marin continues off screen, and then we have a open parentheses, remainder of material in appendix, close parentheses. So that's not uncommon when we have, so like, it's like, okay, we're not going to take up screenplay pages with the stuff that kind of is background. So sometimes you'll do this where you'll see this where like there's a news report or something, and okay, someone has to write what the news reporter is saying, even though we know that the news reporter was going to in the finished cut of the movie is going to trail off, and then the main characters are going to be like, oh, it's a news story that's about our lives, right? We
Right.
never watch a news story that's not about something relevant, right?
Yeah.
It's the Carmen Coincidence a news edition, right?
Right.
But
Like if they're going to like see a play of Hamlet
right.
and the actors are speaking on stage while like, the main characters are like in the audience whispering to each other. You
Yeah.
don't have to like take up screenplay
Right.
with Hamlet's
Yeah,
lines.
but someone does have to write that for the actors, right? Or have that for the
Mm,
actors who are playing Hamlet, right? Yeah,
right.
so it looks like Blatty put together an appendix for these prayers, but I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so oftentimes it'd be at the end of the screenplay. Like in class, we use the Stranger Things pilot in TV
Uh-huh.
writing class, and that's there where there's a bunch of like phone conversations that in the script it's only like the point there is like, oh, we're seeing all these phone conversations of everybody in the town, and
Right.
the government is monitoring all of them. So
Right.
in the script and in the pilot, it's like one line. What do you think of it? What do you think we have for dinner? Oh, I got
Oh,
we're,
right,
we're,
right.
but then in the appendix, it has the full conversations for the actors. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so that I don't know that. So it looks like somewhere around the production there was one, but it's not attached to this PDF of the script anymore. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, somebody had to write down everything that Max von Sydow was going to say. He can't like just improvise.
Right.
Just yes and your way into scripture, please.
Right. Yeah. I like if I had to put money down,
Hmm.
I would bet that Blatty tried to have it be end with your spirit.
Hmm.
Like as one of like he's pulling one of those, he's like, actually, it's karate, right? And Friedkin or one of the advisors is like, no, we say karate over here.
Right.
Everybody knows karate. Just say karate, right?
Right.
But that's not accurate. And it's like, well,
Well, sometimes you're too accurate. No one knows what the hell you're talking about.
exactly. Writers. Jeez. Okay, so from here we cut and we are further back. Can we call this an over the shoulder? Like we're behind Dimmy looking at the bed, almost as if like we're one of the other family members and we like just walked in on this, or more like we were over Dimmy's shoulder, but we like got scared and stood up and started like backing away to the far wall.
Yeah. I'd still call it an over the shoulder, but it would have to be explained. Like if you were, yeah, telling the crew, like, hey, we're going to do an over the shoulder. This is not what they would assume you meant.
Right, yeah. And Marin is still praying. He says, Holy Lord, Almighty Father, everlasting God, and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. And all the while, Howdy is snarling and growling. And make special note here of the way Howdy is at first directing all of this at Karis, and then at the words Jesus Christ from Marin, he turns again like a cornered animal who has like sensed a new threat. And this is where that animal imagery really comes home for me, Kynan. You said this Howdy was more like a cornered animal, very desperate, very different from our articulate book Howdy.
Yeah, and like a series of desperate animals, right? It's like I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
low like a cow here. Oh, that's not working. I'm going to be a snake here. Now I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
a yapping wolf, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and just to read some of these lines from the screenplay that are given to Reagan Demon, as it's called here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's Reagan Demon in the character heading, and sometimes it's like Reagan Dennings. Later on,
Oh,
it'll
right,
be
right, right.
Reagan Mother to mean
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Karras.
Right.
Yeah, but so Reagan Demon, hypocrites, like we don't have that here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Liar, proud bastard, go back to the mountaintop and speak to your only equal.
Oh God, that is that like I was waiting for that. That is one of my favorite lines from the book.
Yeah.
Speak to your only equal. Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, that has to go in the movie. That would
Mm-hmm,
seem
mm-hmm.
like how do we convey that that the exorcism is like having some kind of effect and like hurting her, or
Right.
working at all if she's able to be articulate like that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like in the book, like I said, like this is like a very memorable part for me. It's like this standoff between Howdy and Marin, and
Hmm.
and Howdy like matches Marin's prayer with a curse, like almost point for point. Like
Right.
he says, he throws like the exact same thing, like the equal and opposite thing back at him, and it's great. It's like mwah, it's chef's kiss. But it like in a movie, it would be a little bit silly. It would
Right.
be overly melodramatic, and like you're trying to create this mood here. I really like for the movie this unpredictable, unhinged, scared
Hmm.
animal that Howdy has become.
Right.
Because it's like when an animal is scared and like is in a corner, like that's when like it can be the most dangerous.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, so the snarling ramps up again. The bed is shaking. Marin is continuing to pray. He says, "Who once and for all consigned that fallen tyrant to the flames of hell." And as he's speaking, we cut to Dimmy, and he looks so lost.
Mhm.
His eyes even do like this quick like side to side, as if he's looking for like a hidden camera, or maybe like just to see if anybody else is seeing this.
Mhm.
And that's the only way I can describe it, folks. It looks like he turns away and back to reset and to make sure that he's actually seeing this, or he's looking for how to react.
Mhm.
And we cut back to Marin again. We're on the other side of the bed, as if we're like a third priest with Reagan between us.
Mhm.
She's snarling and growling. Smoke is billowing from the Captain Howdy dragon, and Marin is still praying. He says, "Who sent your only begotten son into the world to crush that roaring lion? Hasten to our call for help." And in the middle of these words, we cut back to Dimmy, and it's another comical look. At least it seems that way to me. He hears something and he looks down, and we see like the bedpost pounding the floor.
Mhm.
We cut back up to Dimmy, and it's another Abbott and Costello like, huh? And we see the other bedpost hammering the floor now, right?
Mhm.
Or okay, like maybe I'm getting this feeling of comedy because he's being proven wrong in rapid succession.
Mhm.
Like it feels to me that at least on some level, Friedkin and Roisman set these shots up to show how unprepared and in over his head Dimmy is versus how prepared and unfazed Marin is.
Mhm.
And also, like as an answer to Dimmy's doubts a few minutes ago, right? Like this is the answer to, do you want to hear the background of the case, or the personalities that Reagan has manifested? It's almost like the demon or God is saying, "Oh, you want manifested? I'll give you manifested. Here's your manifested, Dimmy."
Yeah, but just those, yeah, out of context, these reaction shots are funny. I mean, it's him like, uh-oh, like, because he's looking at Reagan, and she's snarling around, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
this crazy thing, because I remember the bed floating, but the bed is floating much earlier than I remember. The bed is
Yeah.
floating like as Reagan starts to fight against her bounds, right? Like her
Mm-hmm.
hands
Mm-hmm.
being bound, the bed is kind of going up, and then, yeah, so then Damien is like, "Am I seeing what I'm seeing?" And then he looks down like, "Oh, yeah, I'm seeing what I'm seeing." I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in another context, right? If we change the inputs, the
Mm-hmm.
stimuli, it would be funny. It'd be a comedy.
It really is like yeah, you take this clip out and put it in like a Scooby-Doo movie or something, and he's like, "Is that a
Yeah, and then he looks and we see the insert of, "Oh, it's a ghost," and he
Yep.
still is
Mm-hmm.
like, "I don't know if it's a ghost. I don't want it to be a
Mm-hmm.
ghost," right?
Right. Right. He like he's trying to get away from the ghost,
Hmm.
and he's moving things out of the way, right? And he's handing it to the ghost. He's like, thank you, right? And then he pauses and he does a slow turn,
but,
and the ghost is right there.
but he's like, "Thanks. I'm really trying to get these things in order before the ghost comes." And then
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
walks 2 steps and turns around. Ooh.
Looks at the camera. He's like, "Roll." And he just like disappears, and there's this like Dimmy shaped like cloud of dust in his.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But no, none of that happens because it's not Scooby-Doo, much as we want it to be.
Right.
um but yeah, so like I can't, like, it has to be intentional that we're at least getting a little bit of humor here, and I don't not like that. I like that Dimmy is being shown
Hmm.
what this actually is.
Right.
Yeah. um okay, also, there's a weird insert shot of the bed.
Weird.
Do you see this? It's the set. So he looks down at the other, what should be the other bedpost.
Hmm.
So he looks down once because he hears the banging,
Right.
and it's the right side bedpost, and
Hmm.
it's banging on the floor.
Right.
And then he looks back up, and then he looks back down, and it should be the left one. But do you see
Uh,
what's going on there?
he looks where he's seeing part of the bed where he should be. So I think
Exactly.
you found a continuity error. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we're seeing like folks, if you want to ruin this movie for yourselves like I did.
Yeah, we're seeing him look at a spot where, because he is in theory kind of hugging the left side of the
Right.
bed, and then he looks to the left side of the bed, and then we see where he would be kneeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So he should be in that shot
Yeah.
of the. It's like a full shot of the foot of the bed, just banging away,
Well, thanks,
and he's not there.
Lester.
Sorry, sorry. But yeah, it's so quick. We don't like you might have missed it,
No, I've never
and
noticed that at all. Right.
yeah, and you would have been happier.
That's not what we're here for, to make you happy.
Yeah. Okay, so from here we cut back. We're looking at Marin again from the other side of the bed. More snarling from Howdy as Marin continues.
Mm-hmm.
And here, it was hard for me to tell earlier, but right here, he is looking up from the book, and even though he is still praying to God, he is looking directly at
Mm-hmm.
Howdy as
Right.
he says, "And snatch from ruination and from the clutches of the noonday devil this human being made in your image and likeness." There's even a little nod at the word ruination,
Mm-hmm.
as if Marin is saying, "That's you, your ruination, your death, your famine, your pestilence. You're not a who, you're a what." And then when he says, "And from the clutches of the noonday devil," he continues to look directly at Howdy.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, interesting little side thing about this phrase, the noonday devil, that always jumped out to me whenever I heard it. Like, I remember hearing it in church growing up and being interested in the juxtaposition of that phrase, because like you associate the devil and evil with night,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? Like, I know the devil's not a vampire, but like it just always stuck out to me, like Prince of Darkness, noonday devil,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
They almost sound like two different things. And then you think, it's like, okay, is like noonday devil another title for Satan? That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
Or are there like specific daytime devils that are like also running around in the heat of the desert, giving you like a heat stroke and causing you to sin, right? That's also like really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it's actually closer to that. The phrase noonday devil refers to a concept found in early Christianity, particularly associated with the early desert fathers. Those were the early Christian monks and nuns who lived mainly in the Seti's desert of Egypt, beginning around the 3rd century AD. It's a poetic term for one of the demons that monks believed would afflict them during their daily life of prayer and labor. Specifically, the quote noonday devil represents the demon of, I'm going to pronounce this, acedia, Acedia, also known as spiritual sloth. So it's a state of like listlessness and torpor. It's an inability to care for or be concerned about one's position or condition in the world. It manifests as like a feeling of weariness, of sadness, lack of purpose, lack of direction in your spiritual life, right? And this reminded me a lot of how they translated Belial. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
Kynan, we were talking about like the name Belial just means worthlessness,
Worthlessness. Yeah.
right? And we mentioned this on our bonus episodes, folks. In I think it was book 2 of Paradise Lost, because we have the character Belial, who like now in demonology, like he's a big deal. Like he's like, I don't know, he's got like 76 legions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's a prince of the whatever tier. But like you go back and you find his name in the Bible, and you get more and more accurate with the translations, and you find out that they might be talking about, even though they don't know it, they might be talking about like clinical depression
Mm-hmm.
or just like fatigue or something like that, right?
A
And
vibe.
it's yeah, right,
Right.
a
A
mood
mood.
even, right?
All right.
Belial's
Mm,
giving
mm.
yeah, but in doing this research about the noonday devil, it
Mhm.
sounds like kind of like that as well. Like it sounds like just like a feeling of like meh that attacks you in the middle of the day.
But spiritual sloth, as opposed to, they're distinct from other sloth, which is attacked in theology, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Like
spiritual meh.
productivity sloth. This is not quite that.
Because it says like fatigue and torpor and listlessness and
Hmm.
everything like that. I wonder if it's like like when you're having heat stroke, you're not too worried about
Yeah, I guess not.
finishing a prayer,
Right.
unless you are, right? But
Right.
But yeah, actually, so it comes from Psalm 91:6 of the Bible, which mentions the terror of the night and the arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that roams in darkness, and the destruction that lays waste at noon. Early Christian writers and monks interpreted this destruction that lays waste at noon as they call it acedia, imagining it as a demon that strikes at the middle of the day when the sun is highest and one's energy and vigilance might wane.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like over time, it was kind of like folded into the broader Christian understanding of the seven deadly sins, often under the sin of sloth.
Uh-huh.
So, which actually like Belial was right in Paradise Lost. So they might be closer than we think.
Yeah, but they are finally, I guess, like, no, that's just sloth. That's not spiritual sloth, bodily sloth, whatever. It's sloth.
Right. Sloth is sloth, right?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so but in this context, Noonday Devil is it's another kind of like evil spirit, and Marin is referencing that as he is trying to cast Howdy out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Marin says, and snatch from ruination and from the clutches of the Noonday Devil this human being made in your image and likeness. And folks, if you listen to our bonus episodes, we get into this idea about humans being made in God's image. Specifically in our Paradise Lost episodes, there's a part in the poem when Satan sees Adam and Eve for the first time, and for just a second he gets emotional. It surprises him. And we hear it all the time, right? God made us in his image, and but here, folks, is one more thing in this movie to separate Reagan from Howdy. Howdy has no name, Howdy has no body, and he has no image. I mean, sure, we talk about like the scary white Eileen Dietz face, and we wondered like what the rest of him looks like, but what if that's it? What if that is as far as he can manifest? And maybe only because he's like appearing in Karras's dream,
Right.
or in Reagan's mind, or like in a reflection on Chris's stove that one
Right,
time.
right. Yeah, well, again, if we don't think of that one as canon, which I don't know, right? Then all the other iterations are in the mind. So that's as far as Howdy can get, because Howdy can play Ouija board, with Reagan, but can't necessarily have a body, right? So, but man, that one in the stove, that complicates that, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't see it, to remind everyone.
She doesn't see it. That's the thing.
So we see it, so it would seem like it's objectively real.
It's actually him.
Right. Yeah. But only on stovetops.
All right. Yeah.
It's shake and bake, and I helped.
As soon as you said stovetop, I was like, oh, think of something. Think of something. But you got it.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah. You missed a spot. But yeah, this is another thing. I like the idea that he is stealing Reagan's image from her. And we see proof of that in how popular the scary Reagan face is in all of the merchandise and the promotional stuff, right? That's the face you remember, is Reagan's face, Reagan's image, that and what Howdy has done to it. You remember that more than the Captain Howdy face, the Eileen Dietz face.
Yeah, I'm looking. I guess I don't see a Captain Howdy Funko Pop. I think that's just dropping the ball there. They could.
I think so too, right? I would totally buy that.
Right, but they only have the Chris McNeil one.
And apart from how scary her face is, you also get this feeling that something that you can't quite see is looking out at you from behind a mask. That's what I was trying to get at before. Like the way her eyes are, like with the pupils so tiny that like it looks like Howdy is just behind those little points of blackness, and he's looking at you, almost like you would wonder, like, is that wasp looking at me with its little tiny eyes, right? Because you can't see, you can't read, its eyes. But yeah, so as Marin is speaking, we cut again, and we are over his shoulder once more. More snarling and shouting from Howdy as Marin says, "Strike, terror, Lord, into the beast now laying waste to your vineyard." We cut again as he is speaking, and we are behind Karras, but not quite over his shoulder. It's as if we have gotten up and are slowly backing away. And I want to praise both Mercedes McCambridge and Linda Blair here. It is not an easy thing to do, to keep up this energy and this ferocity over what I'm sure are multiple takes. And yes, we're seeing it through many cuts. There may have been, some breaks in between, to rest and recuperate, but then like matching and maintaining that energy so that it looks like it's all one continuous struggle that is ramping up is also very, very hard.
Right.
And yes, this version of Howdy is becoming more and more desperate, more and more animal, less and less human as we go. It's almost like the devolution
Mhm.
of that Soviet film theory you were talking about way in the early episodes of our show,
Mm.
Kynan, right? Like we're shown an image of a man and an animal,
Right.
right? And that's like thesis and antithesis.
Mhm.
And then we see the statue of Pazuzu, and that's synthesis,
Right,
right?
right. Like he gets his power from both of those things. What man is and
Right.
what man isn't, and he has both of them combined, and that's scary and
Exactly.
strong and weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And here it's like Marin is reversing that process by invoking Reagan's humanity.
Mhm.
He is separating her from Howdy, and Howdy is being reduced to this snarling beast, which is even more rudimentary than the statue of Pazuzu. Pazuzu
Mhm.
has a body. Pazuzu has a name, right?
Right.
And a family, right? Like he's the son of this god, and he's got an ex-wife and
Yeah,
all
he's
that
got a
stuff, right?
complicated backstory. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And but Howdy is becoming less than even that.
Mhm.
He's less than the idea of Pazuzu. Maybe he wore that image once upon a time, but like he's older than that, and he's more elemental, more elementary. He's a will o' the wisp. He's a whisper on the southwest wind, and he's
Right.
and he's going back to that. He's being driven back to that,
Mhm.
formless, voiceless, and nameless.
Yeah, I like that.
Speaking of nameless, we're
Mm.
still backing away behind Karis as Marin gets up from his kneeling position. He rises, and Dimmy rises with him, and Marin makes the sign of the cross over Reagan as he says, "Let your mighty hand cast him out of your servant, Reagan Teresa McNeil."
Mhm.
And that is when Howdy lets out a cry of pain, and it is not at all ambiguous. That hurt what Marin just did, what Marin just said. And I like how you can read it both ways, because Marin had just made the sign of the cross over her, but he had also spoken Reagan's full name. And I like to think that's what hurt.
Mhm.
That's her name. She is Reagan Teresa McNeil. You are not part of her. You are an intruder. You are a virus, and you are being separated from her. It's like being in Reagan burns him. The reminder that she has a name and is loved burns him.
That I like that, right? And then again, it's like that's the name that your mother gave you, right? Like yeah,
Yes.
because that's why we have that little conversation out there. Like, what's no shoot, Keenan, pay attention. I was gonna say your mother's maiden name.
Right, right. Wait. What is your mother's maiden name, Mrs. McNeil? Very good, very beautiful name. And now the last four digits of your social security number and the name of your first pet, please. Father, are you sure? Oh, no. It's all part of the ritual.
Right.
Trust me. I need all of this.
I need all of this. The IRS has notified you that you owe them money, and if you don't pay them today in the form of Walmart gift cards, you and your whole family will be going to jail. It's very unfortunate.
Yes. I am a Jesuit priest, but I am also a member of the IRS police force. Yes, we have a police force. Don't. You're asking too many questions. But no, yeah. What do you think of that, Kynan? Like, do you think it's the sign of the cross, or do you think it's the mention of the name that causes Howdy to be like, ah?
I like that it is the mention of the name. Yes, that is reminding of who you are, and that we have secret power over you, and all of that stuff. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and you're right. It unambiguous. It hurts. That is not pretend.
Right.
Right.
That's not the hag from Snow White having a good old time dancing in my pleasure cathedral.
No, get out. Right. That is Captain Howdy straight up not having a good time, bro.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And like Marin is relentless.
Yeah.
He just continues. He says, "So he may no longer hold captive this person." And now the bed begins to rattle and pound again. We cut in, and it's a close up on Marin as we follow him as he bends down to pick up some holy water and says, "Whom it pleased you to make in your image." And he straightens up and he throws the holy water on Howdy. We cut again. It's a close up of a frenzied Howdy writhing in pain on the bed as Marin begins the next sentence. He says, "And to redeem." And unfortunately, that is where we get cut off in the minute. But I actually like that we end today on that word, redeem. I like how that word has significance for multiple characters in this story, let alone the ones in this room. So we'll pick back up next week and hear the rest of Marin's prayer as the exorcism continues. For now, that is all of my notes. Kynan, is there anything else?
No, I think we got it.
All right, folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Kynan Diaz. You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Kynan.
Yep, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media, and a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate that. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. Okay, Kynan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of hell, Michigan, compels you.
How many people do you imagine are getting their cock sucked in hell, Michigan, right now?
I mean, the law of probability states that at this moment, what is the population of Hell, Michigan?
Right,
first of all,
this is the real research that people want to know.
Yeah.
Well, 72 people live in Hell, Michigan, but of course they're flooded with tourists. That must be 3,000 or 4,000 tourists right now in Hell, Michigan.
And you know what you want to do,
yeah.
like when you're a tourist,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, how many hotels have they got over there? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's like the Hell Inn, the Hell Bed and Breakfast, the Hell La Quinta Inn. Let's see. Oh, I see now why it's hell.
Why?
There's no Burger King anywhere. They don't have a Burger King in Hell, Michigan.
Oh well, fuck that. I was ready to pack my bags. I was like, no Burger King, Jesus.
They're in on this vast conspiracy to deny the Clark children their Burger King.
Is that what my priest was like threatening me with? He's like, it's like if you're bad, you're gonna go to hell, Michigan. And you know they got no Burger King over there.
No. Yeah, the nearest Burger King is 40 minutes away.
Wow.
Mr. and Mrs. Clark are like, you kids have misbehaved in church the last time. We're moving to Hell, Michigan. It's 33.3 miles walk to get to Burger King. See how you like it.
You could burn off a burger from Burger King just by going there and back. What do they have in hell? Like what like specifically fast food? What do they have?
Nothing, man.
What?
Nothing. Can you imagine, Lester, living in a town with no fast food? They got the Hell Saloon and the Go to Hell ice cream store and souvenir shop.
I'm gonna be spending a lot of time with that in that ice cream store. I tell you. Wait. What's the name of the ice cream store?
The Hell Hole Bar.
They didn't call it Hell Freezes Over? What the fuck? A cold day in hell? Come on. I need to go there and just like set up shop. I'll be the best marketer, turn that place around. It'll be another Pixar movie. It's like, I meet the locals and I'm like, a city boy looking to, make a name for myself here in hell.
Yeah, you can be the king of hell.
Uh-huh. Oh wait, what's the weather like that over there? Does it rain in hell?
Oh, every day probably. It's probably
okay,
terrible.
Yeah. No, wait, Kynan. Does it rain in hell?
Well, it's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven, Florida.
I like you specifically chose Florida. I love that.